let's talk about um, well, speaking of Zuffa boxing, I do believe, and I'll circle back, but I do believe that Olexsandr Usyk, will fight his last fight, or maybe his last two, under the Zuffa banner, and I'm predicting that he will fight for the Zuffa world title, the Zuffa heavyweight world title. This is what I'm predicting, and think about it. Okay, he vacated all his titles before he fought Rico Verhoeven. He gave up his WBO title, right? And then Fabio Wardley was the guy who was the interim champion. So he becomes elevated and he steps in the ring with his fighter, Daniel Dubois, and Daniel Dubois pummels him. Okay. It was a great fight, but I mean, pummeling based physically. I mean, his face looked like, the cheeseburger I ate recently, but, it was a good fight. It was a brutal fight. So that's where that belt went. Well, since then, now, he's given up the other belts. And he says he's given up the belts. And the way it was framed was Usyk says, I'm giving up the belts to give the young fighters a chance to fight for a world title. Now, I have some thoughts on that. If he truly means that, and if that was a statement that truly came out of his mouth, or if it was something that was lost in translation, the truth of the matter is that's kind of bullshit. Because if you're going to fight in as a pro, even as an amateur, the what next kid, my man Travis is in the chat room right now, and he's an amateur fighter, and I'm sure he would even admit that you're fighting to win championships, right? You're fighting to win. In his case, he's still an amateur, so he wants to win these tournaments, right? So I mean, that's what you're in it for. That's what the competition is, right? So if at the end of the day, you get your trophy, whatever it is, in this case, world title belts, that's not something you just piss away, unless here's the other side of it, okay? And this is what I keep saying, and this is why I keep saying that Zuffa is gonna be the place, unless your value is high enough where you don't need no stinking belts. Okay, now think about that. Fighters reach a certain plateau financially, and the argument for all these belts are the simple fact that they make more money. The fighters get to make more money. And I've had managers and promoters and trainers that tell me this. And I read between the lines and I say to myself, well, that's how they're making their living. I mean, the more money the fighter gets, the more they get. And I'm not so sure that that's the case anyway, especially when you're paying for the belts, you're paying to fight for their titles. Well, when you get to a certain point, although I never was a fan, Floyd Mayweather is a good example. Although that's right, all his fights that he said that he was fighting, they were all postponed or canceled so far. But he didn't need a championship belt when he was, actually fighting actively. He didn't need a championship belt to sell tickets or sell pay-per-views. Manny Pacquiao doesn't need a belt. I mean, you look at some of these fighters, you think Mike Tyson needs a belt to sell tickets, or any of these exciting fighters. So by him giving up the titles, to me, it doesn't make sense from I'm the best in my division. It could make sense saying I don't need the stinking titles because I'll sell out whoever I fight, wherever I fight, and I'll make my money. I don't need the belts to make my money, and I don't want to pay any sanctioning fees. Or the third reason is what I think is going to happen, that he gave up his belts because he knew that it would end in a stripping situation by the sanctioning bodies. They would strip him of the belts if he decided to go fight for a Zuffa belt. We saw it happen. We saw the IBF do it to Jay Apatea, and we saw the WBC do it. Who did they do it to? No, I'm sorry. The WBC, they they stripped Terrence Crawford because he didn't pay the sanctioning fee, and then Shakur Stevens got a, and that's why I believe that all these fighters are going to go to Zuffa. But anyway, so wouldn't it make sense if he gives up his titles and then he goes and he fights on a Zuffa card? And did you hear the rumor that he's thinking of potentially fighting the UFC? I don't follow UFC, but I think John Jones, that he's thinking of fighting him. So, I mean, if he fights a UFC fighter, isn't it? I mean, that's a layup that it's going to be through Zuffa. I mean, right? The company owns it, and think of the money. Think of the money that, Usyk can make. Talk about a cash out fight. Listen, you applaud the guy in on one hand because of the way it was framed, but I just told you the three options, in my opinion. A, he's such a nice guy that he wants to give all the young fighters a chance to win the belts, and give the sanctioning bodies a chance to, have fights that they can make some money on, without splitting it with each other. When they do a unification fight, the sanctioning fees are broken up a little differently, from what I understand. So that's number one. You think he did that? Number two, he says, I don't need belts anymore. I'm a big enough draw. I don't need the belts, so I'm going to fight without them. Plus, I don't want to give up my money to the sanctioning fees. So here, take the belts. I don't need them. Or three, let's give up the belts so that we can go and fight for the Zuffa World Heavyweight title, and then maybe he walks away from the sport. That's my prediction. That's what I think he's going to do. So you guys can mark it down. See, this is the problem.